What's going on, guys? Alex here, back for another video. And in this one, I'm going to talk about how to know if your local market is going through a recession or some type of downward spiral or a market crash, so to speak, right? The reason I'm doing this video is because I'm starting to hear, um, as far as the whole market crash thing, right? People have been talking about it since 2016. It was supposed to happen. Then it was supposed to happen in 2017, 18, and here we are towards the end of 2000. Well, we're in August of 2019. All right, and you're starting to hear it again. We're in a crash, or we're heading towards a crash. So I've started to kind of block that out as far as whenever I hear groups of people or anyone in particular, even people that I kind of respect their opinions, if we're heading into a crash. Because really, the reality is no one has a crystal ball and no one really knows when it's going to happen. It's definitely not an if because, as you probably know, markets move in cycles. So whenever you have an upward trend, eventually it's going to go back down and so on and so forth. You just don't know how high are the highs and how lows are the lows and when they're going to happen. No one does. So anyone that says that they do know, I would be wary of their advice. Here's what I do know, though. I know that if I track, well, first of all, I also know this. I also know that real estate is very local, right? So just because you hear about on national news that there's a market crash or foreclosures are going up, that still doesn't talk about your specific market, which is what matters to you, right? You don't do business in anywhere else other than the markets that you're in. So I track 10 different counties, which is the kind of gives me an overview of what my market's doing. Simply single family homes, 3+ beds within a certain price range. Okay, that's the business that I'm in. That's my local market. That's my local product. That's what I'm concerned about at the end of the day. Not concerned. That's what I want to focus on. That's what I want to get a grip on, right? I want to know what that market's doing. That's all that matters to me. So if I hear anything about foreclosures going up or national news and things like that, I just tune it out and I look at what my market's doing. Okay, so I track this on a monthly basis now. This is something I recently started doing. But here's what I do each and every month. And this is data that comes from the MLS. I did another video as far as why I value the MLS because it gives you raw data. This is data that you probably could get from sites like Zillow, which I did look into, but I noticed that the data is kind of skewed. Like the Zillow's values aren't as up to date, of course. I mean, MLS is real time. And I find that the values are lower at this time, at least for my market. They're not really there's a pretty big gap between what Zillow's home values say and what the MLS says, and I trust the MLS much more than Zillow. So I'm just throwing that out there. But here's what I track each and every month from the MLS, and there's certain market reports that give me certain data, and then there's other ways I can get this other data just by looking at the actives and so on and so forth. So you just have to get familiar with your own MLS system and your market, and you can get this same data here. All right, so here's a market snapshot. Again, I do this on the first Monday of every month. You can see here I track total available inventory. So this is all the houses that are currently on the market right now. I also track the total amount of short sales that are on today. I track the total amount of foreclosures, lender owned is basically a bank foreclosure, that are on the market today. I track the total amount expired within the past 30 days. I have an expired ratio here, which I have. I don't need right there because I have it down here actually. So let me get rid of this, and I'll explain what that means. Total solds I track within the past 30 days, average days on market within the past 30 days, and the median price, the average price, month supplies. I already went over expense ratio, and then I have other ratios here, and then I track the interest rate from Mortgage Daily, 30-year fixed each and every month. Okay. Down here I have each county, so I have each county has their own tab, and I track their own respective numbers. And then down here, I basically have this information pulls from these tabs here. Okay. Now, the reason I tell you this is, again, not to get caught up in all the hype as far as markets crashing. You want to know what your local market's doing. And what I see here each and every month as I track, I like to see what's trending, right? So the the main thing, like this is a big indicator here, month supplies. Now, what is month supplies? Month supplies is the total amount of inventory. Here's the formula. You take inventory divided by the solds, and that's going to tell you how long is it going to take for the current inventory today to sell. And in this case, for the month of August, it's going to take almost, let's call it almost 2.5 months for this inventory to sell. Now, on a national basis, most experts would say that if you're under 6 months of inventory, you're in a seller's market. If you're over 6 months of inventory, you're in a buyer's market. Again, that's national numbers. I don't really like averages, but I like to look at what my market's doing. If once September comes, this jumps to let's just kind of go towards the end of the spectrum. Let's say it jumps to 6 months of inventory. That's going to tell me there's a big shift in the market. Let's say if it goes back to 1 month of inventory, that's going to tell me that there's a shift in the market as well. More houses are selling for whatever reason. That's just one indicator. Another indicator could be the days on market. Again, how long is it taking? How long are days on the market before they sell? Right? And usually 90 days or less is an indication for a seller's market. 90 days or more is an indication for a buyer's market. That's another indicator you can track. You can track prices. You can track the median price and the average prices and see if these are trending downwards or upwards. I like tracking expireds because expireds are good leads for what we're looking to do as far as if you're in the terms business, lease options, owner finance, subject to. These are or wholesaling lease option. These are good leads here. But I like to see the expense ratio. I want to see how many. I'm sorry, the expired ratio. I like to see how many expireds there are compared to the total amount of inventory. And if this number keeps going up, as far as let's say it's going to go to over 20% expired ratio, that means that more and more listings are going expired, which is another indication that more houses are not selling, right? Which is telling me that my market is trending towards downward, right? And then, so again, these are just an entire market snapshot that I have here. And as I continue to track this on a monthly basis, I'm gonna have a good idea as far as what my local market's doing, and not get caught up in the hype as far as what I might hear on the news or from other so-called experts, and so on and so forth. All right, so I'm gonna show you some here just by the counties that I work in. I'm not going to go into all these numbers because not all of them are super relevant. I just like to track them. But here are the main. I mean, these are the main two, I think. And you want to track the medium homes, the prices. So you see what those are doing each and every month, right? So you see how that's. And again, each county, I'm going to do. I do the same thing. So next month it's going to be September, and then after the course of months, I'll see what each county's doing. And then when I know what each county's doing, and I see which counties might be have the highest months of supply, right? Like this one here, Franklin County, looks like it's a slower market. So this one is probably, you could call it I don't know, call it a recession, whatever you want to call it. It's just it's a slower market than these other ones, right? And it has a high day on market. So this is a market where sellers might need our solution, right? Meaning the houses aren't selling fast enough, and they might need to sell within a reasonable amount of time, and they have a mortgage payment that, they might have a mortgage payment that they can't afford anymore, and they're going to need a terms type of solution. Versus a hotter market like Suffolk County, this is Boston, this is like in the center of Boston. You can see here that month supply is low, days on market is relatively low. A seller can just put their house on the market and it'll sell. You know what I mean? I think Boston's one of the hottest markets in the country. Obviously, there's markets that are hotter than Boston, but relatively speaking, our lease purchase solution isn't going to be the best solution for a lot of sellers within Suffolk County, right? They could just put it on with a realtor, they could just put it on by themselves and get close to full retail for it. But this market here, this county here, is different. You can see here that the median price is different. You can see here the month supply is different, and if I go to Franklin County here, I can just get a good feel for what the market's doing. But yeah, so I don't know. I guess I just share this to kind of to not let you get caught up in all the hype. What you want to know is what your local market's doing. What you want to know is keep track of what the inventory levels are doing. And oh, what I wanted to say about this too. So once you know which counties are kind of either on a downward spiral or where you think that again, month supply is going up, days on markets are going up, it's getting slower. These are markets that you can solve problems in, right? You can help sellers, you can solve sellers' problem by offering them a lease purchase solution where maybe if they can't afford their mortgage, I mean, no realtor is going to pay their payment, right? If the realtor is not able to get it sold, then eventually if they can't afford their payment, it's going to go into foreclosure. Or they'll just have to keep eating the monthly payment until eventually, so they're losing savings. Or on the buyer side, then it's going to get tighter, right? If less houses if banks become more strict, then they also need a lease purchase solution, right? They need a solution that's going to give them time in order to do what needs to be done to finally get approved with the bank. So either way, your solution can help both buyers and sellers, and it's not only going to be profitable for you, but you're also going to be you're going to be very valuable to the marketplace. You're going to be able to put transactions together. You're going to be able to get attorneys paid if you use attorneys. Mortgage brokers paid if the buyers use the mortgage broker. Everyone in your community gets paid, right? So you're kind of a conduit for the market, right? You're valuable. So this is just something to think about. And when I see this here, when you see this here within a certain county, you might want to look into which zip codes are the ones that are go deeper. So this is kind of market overview. All right, here's what the market's doing as a whole. And then let's go into county overview. All right, this is what each county is doing as a whole, and then I'll go into each city. You know what I mean? And then once you get narrowed down to maybe certain zip codes, then that's when you might want to do some targeting, right? Might maybe send some direct mail, some Facebook ads within those zip codes, whatever it is. This is how you get targeted as far as which locations might need your solution. But again, markets crash, markets rise, they go in cycles. Don't get caught up in the national hype. Real estate's very local. I recommend finding a realtor or even getting your license so you can have access to the MLS. Maybe not go through the whole process just to get access to the MLS, but find a way to get good data within your local market so you can have a good grasp on what the market's doing, because nothing else matters other than your local market. All right, I hope that helps, guys. Keep in mind, I do post live seller calls every single week, every Friday, to be specific. So if you want access to those prior to those going private, be sure to subscribe, be sure to hit the bell, and if this video is helpful for you, be sure to leave a comment. Those always get me excited when I see comments. So thanks again for watching. Look out for the next one.